Greetings from Mobility Outlook and welcome to Mobility Conversations. Today we have with us Mr. Anuj Kapuria. He is a MD and CEO of High-Tech Robotics. Anuj, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would like to start by asking you that High-Tech Robotics boasts of working on human-centric, intelligent, and autonomous automation. A bit confused about these two.
Yeah.
To bottleneck critical workflow. So across industries, what it all means to the automotive and manufacturing industries.
So I think couple of things, right? Human-centric, sometimes that automation or autonomous can mean that you're removing human from the picture altogether. But as recent studies have shown that actually augmenting humans' capabilities actually uncovers a lot more safety, productivity, efficiency, whatever you need, right? So it is not about removing the human totally from the picture. It is more around improving the environment around the human to ensure that the human is most effective, right? And that is the mission that we have. And we are applying that to two major areas. We are applying it to logistics and operational workflows, right? Logistics means that on the road logistics, where we are trying to improve that and make it a lot safer and remove accidents and so on and so forth, apart from making it operationally efficient, but also within factories and warehouses, right? Where you can use this intelligent automation to then optimize various processes.
That means you can help the vehicle manufacturers and OEMs in different counts, right?
Yes.
Like for example, to OEMs to reduce the cost per component, and for the vehicle manufacturers to reduce the takt time and also to manage market volatility. Is it so?
So now you see, our manufacturing processes are still age-old Henry Ford method, right? You can have any color as long as it is black, right? It was made for one standard product to be built cost efficiently. Today, any example you take, there are thousands of variants of one vehicle, right? And they are all coming through a pull model, right? We all wanting to go to a demand pull model. So how do you reconfigure your assembly lines and provide the right material at the right time for the right variant to be made is a new challenge, which was, unlike with the conventional assembly lines, that is not possible, right? That is where intelligent autonomous automation comes in, right? Which has a layer of intelligence built into it so that it can take in these real-time inputs on what is the new customer demand, what is the variant being built, continually change the process digitally on what needs to be built, and provide the material required to build that also autonomously, right? So we're essentially removing the conveyor, putting mobile robots in the entire facility to manage this entire thing. So that way we are actually improving the operational efficiency as well as enhancing the productivity for the entire facility in the factory.
Okay. That means you make those mobile robots?
That's right. So we make those mobile robots, and it's not just the mobile robots themselves, but also the intelligence layers on top, the software and so on and so forth. Right.
So from the component manufacturer's point of view, so how do you support them to reduce the cost per unit? That's how, that's their objective, final objective.
So I think the cost per unit, there's a whole cost of manufacturing, a cost of goods sold, which is a portion of it goes to cost of material movement and WIP that you have to create, right? And for that work in process, if it is not optimized based on what you need to make at that point, you will always have more cash blocked, right?
Inventory.
And the inventory is blocked, right? So we help them unlock it based on the operational efficiencies that we provide with what I just said, right? I give you an example for OEM, but the same would be applicable to a tier 1 or tier 2 manufacturer.
The investment towards that mobile robo, would that not affect their bottom line while achieving the target of cost per unit?
Well, yeah. So the kind of the ROI that comes out, if we are able to save 30 to 50% and unleash better productivity for them, it not only pays for itself, actually it adds to the bottom line.
So that means about in a short span of time, they
Usually on average we've seen that in less than 2 years the ROI is the payback period.
okay, that's for the component manufacturers. OEM it will be slightly different, no?
Yeah, OEM will be even lesser.
Lesser. Okay, great. What are the adjacent areas that you look at, right, in the manufacturing, and also I think you support to logistics also, right?
Yes. So, from 70% of the freight is carried globally actually, and India also is akin on the road, right? So, the truck movement and India, unfortunately, a fatality happens every 4 minutes. An accident happens every minute. So yeah, fatality is 4 minutes, and accident is actually every minute, right? So, our purpose is to impact this metric, right? So the core purpose we are driving towards safety, but it has affiliate benefits in which operational efficiencies get unleashed. The drivers drive better, they are more in time, turnaround times are managed, and so on and so forth, right? So now, as of right now, we already have close to about 20,000 devices on Indian roads, on Indian trucks, saving lives and making the logistic operations better.
This is what I think you supported the DICB with the technology, right? If you can throw a little more light.
Yes. So, Daimler, being an innovator in this field, was the first to adopt this technology. And this is camera, computer vision, and AI-based technology, right? Where we are continually monitoring what is happening inside the cabin and trying to see through various parameters that we monitor from the driver visually, right? To see whether he's paying attention on the road or not, and whether he's in safe driving condition mode or not, right? And in order to basically have better well-being for the driver and make sure that he goes back home safe and sound, right? And Daimler took the lead in that, and we were happy to collaborate with them to introduce this in their trucks. And it has been the first of its kind. And other OEMs are now following suit, and we are also supporting other OEMs for the same.
That is in India, correct?
That is currently in India. Yes.
If you can indicate the other OEMs, which are the OEMs you're working with?
Well, I can tell you that with the OEMs that we are working with, we are covering more than 60% of the commercial vehicle market. Okay. Right. I won't be able to name them specifically, but they are the large, small players we are supporting.
India being a very specific market, the requirements, the existing infrastructure, everything is unique. So what are the challenges that you faced while developing these kinds of
So
technologies?
firstly, I think, of course, Daimler has a system in Germany, right? They have a system in Japan as well. They could not transplant it in India. India is very unique, right? What you see in India is are edge cases that you can't even imagine in Western or even Far Eastern geographies, right? So all of those edge cases, the long tail cases, are standard cases in India, right? So that is where the development effort driven from India actually benefits, right? Because then you can take it and export it to the world, but usually there's already a barrier to entry for any Western technology. Finds a big challenge to configure itself to Indian scenarios, right? So we have now accumulated over 2 billion kilometers of travel in India, right? So apart from the fact that we worked in simulations a lot, right? 10x of what we've covered on the road, but I'm talking about 2 billion kilometers covered on Indian road. So we've seen all the scenarios that could happen, can happen, and so on and so forth. And we have some very funny videos as well that we've been able to capture of these events, right, during training and so on and so forth. And all of that has gone into the AI and self-learning to make the product a lot better, right? So that is the reason why we are comparatively way ahead of anyone that either may try to transplant technology into India from outside, or is going to start now to try and build this technology.
Do you see improvements needed further?
I think, for certain specific use cases, we are already there. And that's the reason why we are in series production, right? Because no one will compromise on safety if you're not ready to have these systems on the road, right? There are certain features that we are working on, which is a roadmap on newer things that you would like to add in, which are under development, obviously, right?
I think you are also supporting the defense with autonomous vehicles, where you amalgamated many technologies. If you can throw more light on this.
Yeah, so in fact, my background from Carnegie Mellon, I worked a lot with U.S. Department of Defense, right? Unmanned ground vehicles in U.S. Department of Defense was my core area of expertise. And when I came back to India, defense was the first port of call for me. And while it requires a lot of stringent quality standards to be passed, right? You need it to be fault tolerant and so on and so forth. So most of our technologies has been built from defense and then optimized for commercial uses, whether it's industrial or automotive uses, right? So all of that technology, the robustness is and the reliability is built into it. For example, we have multiple tanks, trucks that we've converted to fully autonomous for Indian defense, right? And they're currently in deployment in various areas which I can't talk about, obviously, in use. And our technology is kind of the backbone of all the unmanned ground vehicle programs that are happening.
Okay, great. ADAS per se is a bouquet of technologies where you have a lot of options. What are the other opportunities for high-tech robotics to dig more out of it?
So our approach is a little unique, and as you said, we are coming from autonomous vehicle technologies back towards ADAS, right? Which makes us very, very differentiated because we know that eventually we are going to go to autonomy, right? So we can already preempt all the challenges that we are going to face. So we want to look inside the cabin, and we are also looking outside and seeing what is the situational awareness outside, right? And we are amalgamating both of these inputs to create something which is highly unique and differentiated so that the vehicle is always kept safe, right? Till the driver is in control, we'll ensure that the driver knows this in advance. So we can preempt certain conditions that may happen in the future, few seconds in the future, and guide the driver accordingly. But we are ready for, as and when we switch towards autonomy to an autopilot, the same thing can be plugged into an autopilot as a sensory input, right? And that's how we've architected it.
Do you see opportunities to deploy these technologies for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and even passenger cars?
Yes, there is. Yes, so PV segment is something that we are actively working on. Unfortunately, I can't give you more than that details on it because they are kind of early stages of development. For three-wheelers and two-wheelers, there's specific use cases that are needed, right? And most of them are driven by last mile delivery kind of use cases. Till it gets mandated, then everyone will need to use it. But most of the deliveries, 60% of the deliveries happen on two-wheelers and three-wheelers, like if I put them together. And there's a lot of chatter about, if you remember in the recent past, 10-minute delivery and the unsafe driving habits that is promoting, right? Now, a system like this can not only inform the driver for his own safety, but it can also inform other road users around them, right? In order to ensure that not only the driver safety improves, but also the other road users are informed that if the person is going to do an unsafe maneuver, that can also be highlighted. So we are working on very unique use cases around this area.
Yeah, interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong. What you said is more suitable even for ambulance, right?
Yes. Yes.
What's your thought about it?
So ambulance, a very niche use case. In the past we have had a couple of times that we worked on ambulances, but this is not an area that we've explored too much. For ambulances, I think what will be necessary is that how can other people make way for the ambulance, right? I think that is the use case which is most critical for them. Anytime you're driving in a traffic jam, you'll still see an ambulance stuck with you, and that should not happen. People should give them way, right? And I think that's more of a sensitization training for the entire society as that we live in. as opposed to, I think, driver safety. For them, ADAS, I think, is more to inform the other people around the ambulance to give them way, as opposed to the ambulance itself.
Correct, correct, correct. Do you see more opportunities to offer solutions based on in-vehicle application, in-vehicle application?
So yeah, I mean, all of these are in-vehicle applications, right? But then there is an element of cloud connectivity, because you want to agglomerate all of this data back to give consistent feedback to these drivers, right? Whether they are self-driven cars or they are chauffeur-driven cars, or whether they are trucks which are driven by drivers, right, professionally paid. You want to make sure that all of these events are captured, and they inform safer driving behavior overall, right? Long term, that is our vision and purpose.
How robotics per se is changing Indian mobility ecosystem?
So, robotics, as you yourself said, it's an amalgamation of technologies. AI, computer vision, computer science, embedded electronics, all of that has to come together. And I think there's already a profound shift that is happening. Electronics, which is less than 20% of a vehicle, with EVs coming in and even the latest generation of vehicles, it's already crossed 50%, right? And that is only going to increase. The software and the intelligence bit on it is also going to increase tremendously over the next decade, I feel, right? So your vehicles are going to become more and more intelligent and tend towards robots. Now, it depends on how you imagine robots to be. We have this Hollywood way of looking at robots, right, which are humanoids and with arms and legs and so on and so forth. But intelligent autonomous robots are even these vehicles, and everything is tending towards that. And that's why we feel that robotics as a technology is going to be all pervading, and it's going to make smart robotics, which is this technology that we are working on, is going to seep into most of these machines, whether it is automotive, whether it is trucks and buses, whether it is mining equipment, whether it is mobile robots or robots in general in factories and warehouses.
When you work on futuristic technologies, your R&D should be much ahead of what the market thinks.
Right.
How are you augmenting your engineering prowess?
Yeah, so I think couple of things. Academia industry partnership is very important for us. I come from Carnegie Mellon, so we have a very tight connect with Carnegie Mellon. We work with them very closely on many of these initiatives. We have programs running with them, together with them. But we also work with Indian universities, including IIT. We run a professor's chair there. We are consistently partaking in industry collaborations with various IITs. At the bottom of the pyramid also, we are trying to create an impact, because many of these technologies are going to impact the way jobs are right now segregated, right, even at the bottom of the pyramid. So as very important ESG purpose for us, we are trying to upskill people who will get marginalized by these technologies. So we are in the process of partnering with various ITIs and various of these vocational education institutions to create a curriculum which helps people understand these sort of industry 4.0, 5.0 technologies as they come in, and make them much more savvy on these technologies to maintain and upkeep these technologies, because it's not just about the R&D to create these technologies, also then you have to run them consistently, right?
Sustainability. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the way we are looking at it.
Okay. How many people work at high-tech robotics?
Currently, we are growing fast. Currently, we are about 250 people, but we are growing really fast.
What percentage will be in the R&D?
Close to about 50% will be R&D. Yeah. So most of them will be masters, PhDs, engineers from premier institutions.
And you have only one plant, no? As of now.
Currently, we have one plant, and most of our long-term vision is also to sort of use a lot of contract manufacturing. We want to be the technology provider, right? So we will keep the key technology designs and all of that in-house. Incidentally, we already have over 100 patents to our name, right? And these are all proprietary technologies that we are working on. So we want to build the character of the organization like that. And as things proliferate, we would contract manufacture much of the, in consumer electronics, right? Most of the electronics is contract manufactured, right? That's how you get economies of scale and so on and so forth. So that is our long-term vision. While we will continue to expand our facilities, manufacturing facilities in the short term, long term we are looking at expansion like this.
Okay, and do you also support customers beyond boundaries?
Yes, so we are, although currently we are largely focused on India, but North America is a very important target market for us, and we are having various discussions both in mobile robotics space as well as in automotive to expand our operations there. We'll talk more about that later on, I guess.
Okay, great. And then what are your long-term plans? You told me about the short-term plans. Long-term.
So I think we are on a very large growth trajectory. I think there are some regulatory changes that are going to happen. We are working with the government agencies and some of the standards agencies also to proliferate some of this stuff into standards, right? I think we are lagging behind Europe in some of these safety standards, and some of the high-profile accidents that have recently happened have also put in a lot more emphasis on this, right? And our ministry anyway, Mr. Gadkari has been really a proponent of road safety, and he's pushing it hard. And I think with the technology that is available to us today, there's no reason for us to leapfrog, not to leapfrog rather, Europe and US. And I think we are on the forefront of making sure that happens, right? So there's a huge growth trajectory in front of us. And currently we are in pole position, and we will ensure that we continue to stay at the edge of not just the technology, but also the proliferation and scaling up of this impact.
Great. Anuj, thank you so much for sparing your time.